9 o'clock on Thursday, June 29th. Meeting of the Policy and Procedure Committee. And would you call the roll, please?
Ducat?
Yes.
Barron's?
Yes.
Alt?
Here.
Awful? Here. Whittle?
Here.
Sure.
Yep. Everyone has a copy of the agenda in front of them, so we have a motion to approve that.
So moved.
Mr. Whitlow, do we have a second? Here. Mrs. Awful. Any questions or comments on the agenda? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. That motion carries. Public comments. Do we have any public comments this morning? Seeing none, we'll move on to Mr. EMA.
Boring monthly report. I've been working on the request for proposal for that grant, the hazard mitigation plan. We've been interviewing candidates for my replacement. The guy that will be 3 days a week at EMA, 2 days a week public health and preparedness. Hopefully narrowing that down. Obviously, we've had an air quality issue the past couple days, and while I haven't done anything directly for that, it's been on my radar because we've heard some reports of additional people going to urgent care and seeking medical attention. That's what this poor air quality will do to the entire population. It may not seem firsthand, as is no big deal. However, it's been impacting the health of our population. So hopefully it looks like it's clearing up. But with that, we are expecting storms today. So, and on that note, we've obviously been experiencing a drought. Happens every once in a while for our area. Where EMA is concerned, a drought needs to, if it continues, then there will be water issues or lack of water issues for if there are any private wells that run dry or any municipalities that start to have water issues. By no means have we run into that yet. I'm not quite sure when and if we would, but it's stuff that's kind of on our radar and trying to get ahead of, just in case, worst case scenario. That's really the short report that I have for you today. But I'd like to also remind you, every once in a while, I'll talk to you about HyperReach, the mass notification system the county pays for. We still have that, and it's still a great way for the public to get emergency alerts straight to their cell phone, or their landline, or their email, whatever they choose. Free to sign up, free to receive alerts. That's my presentation.
Okay, anybody have any questions for Mr. Sitchin?
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, next on our agenda this morning is a discussion and action on the burn ban for Iroquois County. I'm fortunate to have Mr. Glenn with us this morning from the fire chief. And I can tell you that last evening there was a meeting down in Buckley of the fire chiefs and a lot of discussion about this. I passed out a suggested news release to everybody. What I'd like to do is to kind of go through quickly what some of our options are and so forth. First off, according to the Illinois statutes, the burn ban of this type is something that the fire chiefs are authorized to enact. We as a county board really do not have that authority. I'm going to pass around a copy of the statute that you can look at. I've underlined and read what some of them.
I got John, I'm passing that out.
Okay.
I made copies, but that's fine.
If you look at the bottom of the first page, or what I've got as the first page, it specifically states the fire chief or any other designated officer of a fire department of any fire protection district incorporated under this act may, with the authorization of the Board of Trustees of the Fire Protection District, prohibit open burning within the district on an emergency basis for a limited period of time. If the atmospheric conditions or other circumstances create an unreasonable risk of fire because of wind, weather, or the types of combustibles and resources of the fire department are not sufficient to control and suppress a fire resulting from one or more of the conditions or circumstances described in clause 1 of the subsection. So basically, they're saying that not only is it the opinion of the fire chief, but I think most of all of the officials in the county that there's very severe risk of wildfires or things at this time. And with the 4th of July weekend impending, we feel that it's advisable that something be done. Last night, the fire chiefs voted to approve a burning ban. And there's discussion about if the county should have an ordinance of some type on this matter. And that's something that we can talk about this morning. There is one other county that we have found that does have a similar ordinance. It's Boone County, which is way up in the north end of the state. And their ordinance is a permanent one. And I'm not sure that's something that we would want to put into place in this county.
Yeah, I've seen that also, but that's 24/7, 365, there's a number.
Yeah. But I think it is also possible that we could enact an ordinance that would closely mirror the state statute, which again gives the authority to the fire chiefs. One of the things that enters into all of this is how much teeth is there in a burning ban? How do you enforce it? What do you do if people don't observe it? And so forth. So in the statute, it says that the fire departments can charge the people reasonable costs associated with that and so forth, probably a fine. That was discussed last evening as well. I think that's something that we could also put into an ordinance if we chose to do so. The only thing with an ordinance is that anything like that we would enact has to be approved by the whole board. And as you know, our next meeting is July 11th, which is a week after the 4th of July holiday. So as far as the immediate aspect of all this is concerned, we really cannot address the 4th of July holiday with an ordinance. It just isn't possible. So what we can do is we can put out this news bulletin, which I believe the fire departments are also putting something similar out.
Yeah, everybody should have a copy of that, I just passed around.
So it's something that I would like to see us do on behalf of the county board. That's what's in the piece of paper that I passed out. That can go out to all the radio stations and news media. We have a Facebook page, we have a county website. Whatever means we can find to communicate with the public, I think would be advisable. I would even think that we could probably draft up some kind of a bulletin or whatever that we could maybe post on the boards and the post offices throughout the county. Post it on the hardware stores or any public places where people meet that allow that type of thing. So whatever means we can devise or think of to get something like this put out. So I guess at this point, I'm open to any questions or comments that you have, as well as the news release that I passed out as a suggestion that I drafted. If you feel like that's what you'd like to do, that's fine. We can do that. If you want to make some changes to it or whatever, we can do that as well.
Does anybody put anything or develop anything for social media that the board members can share?
I'm not sure what you're getting at.
On Facebook or?
Facebook.
It is on Facebook.
Our
No,
own
it's not
Facebook
yet.
page, can we write that up and put it on our page?
Yeah, no, I mean, that's what we would do, we'd put it on the county website as well. So, Brian has a means to get this this out to all of the media. If we approve that, get that done probably by lunchtime today. She acts fast.
I know the sheriff had said something about putting it on the EMA thing blast out too.
I have talked to the sheriff about this, and he is supportive of this. His concern is with, how can this be enforced?
Yeah.
And I guess that's one of the questions that we all have. It's something that there is an Illinois statute against open burning, so if you're caught open burning, I guess you can be cited for that and fines and so forth. Talked to our state's attorney about this, and he's very supportive of it. I haven't talked to anybody that isn't supportive of it, to be honest about it.
Maybe down, but what is the open burning definition of it? Someone not looking after the fire or what?
Well, I have that as well. You have that, Paul?
Yeah.
It's, oh, I see, it's in there.
It's right here. Open burning, including landscaping waste, agricultural waste, household trash, and garbage. It's basically twigs, leaves, branches, any kind of wood, any kind of garbage, any kind of landscaping, agricultural, grass, ditches, waterways,
Even if it's,
beanstone.
even if it's supervised.
Correct.
Right.
Even if it's supervised.
All right, good to know.
Yep.
One of the things that we're also talking about in there is fireworks. I just handing to Barb a definition that given to me by a fellow from the Watsika Fire Department last night. The definition of what's called consumer-grade fireworks.
Basically, what they're trying to get at is consumer-grade fireworks are what you're gonna set off in your backyard. What everybody's going to Indiana or Southern Illinois and buying. Whereas they're not gonna put at this time, and it might change if this doesn't improve maybe, but it sounds like Watsika's gonna go through with this one way or another. Is we're gonna still allow municipal, professionally licensed, insured through the state fire marshal's office. These are companies that go out and put displays on, like the Watsika. Our fire department always has the 4th of July, and the firemen always put this on. And because of the fear, so basically what they're doing is trying to put the liability back on that company to say, if you catch a person's house on fire, your insurance is going to have to take care of this. And this is kind of in the PSA that we formulated late last night was, just basically spelling that out a little bit more. Consumer fireworks are, we don't want to have to put out your house or your neighbor's house and then have to answer to who's going to be liable for this. And the issue is if you get everybody doing this and ask them or whatever, how far can you go here? I mean, if you're over here putting this out, how are you going to put that out? How are you going to go over there and do this? So, and John's absolutely correct. Everybody, I think, is all for this. And at the same token, you feel sorry for a city that's invested $10,000 into a fireworks display and can't put them out. So, the consensus of the chiefs last night was that they're all for it, but they still want to go ahead with the big municipal ones.
I think there's been times in the past where events have occurred where the fireworks displays have been postponed and done later in the summer.
Yeah. And
They could even be carried over till the following year if somebody wanted to. I think they're still good.
I got a call from the sheriff about 3 weeks ago about, the teeth of this thing when we put this out. The chiefs all discussed this through our media page of the group meetings and private, just a group text between us and say, hey, yeah, we're all in agreement that we ought to put a ban on this thing. Well, questions arise from, legitimate sources, by what authority do you have that? Can you do that as far as county-wide goes? Well, as you've read in the statutes, the fire chief can do that. Well, the way the Illinois statute reads, you can do that. I can do that in my fire protection district. But can I technically put out a county-wide fire ban? So he said, okay, well, we need to go, and this when I got a hold of Paul, I got a hold of John. I said, I think this thing needs to be brought to the next level to where we get it as the whole county wide. And they agreed, and once we started that ball process, and John's like, well, it sure would be nice to have this done before the 4th. So we started looking at model examples and really couldn't find something that really applied to us. But then the next question came up on, says, well, wait a minute, the county has jurisdiction of all unincorporated areas in Iroquois County, so how are you saying that the city of Waseca can't do it? You have no governance over that. So, well, so then it's still gonna fall back to individuality, I guess, in the fire protection districts. Ask them, we still like to be able to put a ban out there, just to kind of spook people into doing it, and we'd like to put some teeth behind it. But it's still gonna come down to, in the villages, it's still gonna come down to each chief, and, to make the final judgment, I guess. Because it could be a situation where, just like it is right now, the north side of Iroquois County's had a little bit more rain than the south side, not a lot, but, we could have 5 inches of rain difference, to where it would say that a ban only for Route 24 south, But, so we decided, and we were talking last night, that we need to get something put in writing on this thing. So the PSA that we'd like to put out is gonna have fines on it. We're gonna go out and extinguish that. If we have to come back out and extinguish it, you're gonna get a $100 fine. And if we have to come back out again, the fines are gonna keep doubling. Whether or not we can do that,
Does a $100 fine cover the cost?
it doesn't cover the cost of the call. But we figure if we can put this into something, it'll scare people into not.
Somebody think a little bit.
It'll scare people not into doing it.
I guess, is there a way to have it say $100 fine plus cost of putting out the fire? Because if you're actually dealing with actual costs, that might be more defendable.
And I pay taxes in this fire district.
Well,
You guys deal with this every day with everything you guys do too, that's why we pay taxes, for you to come out here and do it. But I agree with you 100%. And that was one of the suggestions that we do is that what we charge out of district people for like an accident. See, we don't charge for if we get called over to Waseca for a fire, we don't charge Waseca or the residents because we have mutual aid agreements with. If you're from Chicago and you roll your car at the 293, you get charged. And the state puts a limit on that, on what you can charge. So that's like $175 an hour per, don't hold me to this, I think it's $175 an hour per unit and $75 an hour per man per hour that we can charge. Of course, just like everything else, we get paid probably 20% because of no insurance. Do you want to take them to court? Do you want to sue them? Is it worth $400 for a 40-minute call? So, I don't know, and we kind of debated back and forth, should we put $1 on it, shouldn't we? We can change it at any time. And like I say, there's no way, so the ordinance thing, I don't think is gonna be we figured out pretty fast that this ordinance thing was not gonna be able to appear, just like John said before the 4th of July. But we just thought, well, we mentioned what in our PSA, and I don't know if you wanna put them both out or if you wanna put, John's covers everything what we said, ours just kind of explains a little bit more the difference between consumer fireworks display and professional fire displays.
I think you ought to do both.
Okay.
I agree.
Okay.
That way it also shows that we are in cooperation.
Right, and I love that at the end, that you guys are backing us up. And like the sheriff said, how are we gonna go out and start writing tickets for somebody writing fireworks in the backyard? We agree 100%, you ain't got time to be doing that.
Another thing I do, Lyle, is the fire chief still has to answer back to the board of trustees for
Yeah.
each district.
Absolutely.
And so the ordinance for the money, how much it's gonna be, he's trying to figure it out to where it's absolutely across the board, straight across it.
Hopefully this legislature's enough deterrent.
That's kind of what we're at right now. And just put something out there that, by law, we can, I can't see that where anywhere in the state that I could find in the state statutes, what they say you can impose for an open burning violation. It just says you can impose a fine. So we took that as that we can put any kind of fine on that one on, which like you said, we could go up to what we charge. I don't think we could go any higher than what we charge for an out-of-district call.
I honestly think we're looking at a situation where anybody that's got a reasonable amount of common sense would look outside and see all the smoke in the air and realize what happens, or what can happen under drought conditions, and and understand why we're doing this. That being said, there are always gonna be a few where it's gonna, oh, that doesn't apply to me, or I'm gonna go ahead and do this because my little kid wants to see a firecracker, or whatever the reason is. And I think that's, we gotta do what we can do. And well, my recommendation is that we would approve this today to get this out. We would also decide that if we wanna enact an ordinance in support of this, that is something that we could be working on and bring forward at our meeting on July 11th. That, I think basically, in my view, we basically mirror what the state statute says. Because we can't really go beyond that, and I don't think we want to do anything less than that. So I think having that in place would provide further assurance and strength to the fire chiefs in their resolve and their determination to keep things as safe as possible. So that's kind of where we're at. Unless somebody has any further questions or comments, I guess I would entertain a motion to move in that direction.
Sounds good, I'll make it. I'd also, though, I want to put in there to, when the PSA goes out across the radio, that they follow each other, so they know that we're locked in this when it goes across the radio. That way it's not just the county board, since it's also.
I can send them both out.
Good. Go ahead, Bree.
Well, I just have a statement about fireworks that I just want everyone on the committee to know that we issue fireworks permits to entities that have the proper certifications and things like that. So they have to have a pyrotechnic license or a consumer fireworks license. They have to provide $1 million insurance policy. And then they have to follow the application and then provide a $1,000 bond, which, as we all know, bonds are as good as the paper they're written on. But anyway, we do have 2 fireworks permits that were issued in the county in the proper amount of time where the fire district didn't have to sign off on it, as far as they have to sign off on the site, but they don't have to be in agreement if we issue a permit. If we get within a less than 15-day window before the show, then the fire department has to be 100% on board with issuing a permit. So anyway, we have a permit issued for Bales Lake. We have one issued for Kellart Lake. So Bales Lake is in Loda, Kellart Lake is in Cissna Park. I was contacted by the fire chief in Crescent Fire Protection District yesterday that there is a family that contacted him because they were concerned because they normally do a fireworks show, and they contacted him to make sure he could be there ready to go because they were concerned about the fireworks. Well, they had never applied for a permit, but they are in the process of applying for the permit. He is going to be signing off on the agreement if he feels comfortable with this, where the display is located. They have a professional company doing the show. They've provided all of the insurance, they haven't provided the site agreement yet because the chief hasn't gone out there. So I do want to let you know that that might be a signed permit, and that will be north of Crescent, west of the fairgrounds. And that would take place on tomorrow, actually, as long as he's good to go with it. But I just wanted to let you guys know that those are the 3 permits that Iroquois County issues for fireworks. Okay? Right on.
I guess in some respects, that's a little bit of a dilemma, because if somebody has fireworks and they see someone else shooting them off, they say, well, if they can do it, why can't I? They aren't gonna know all the details or understanding of the whole thing.
This is true, but you're gonna have that at Keller Lake because that's not a municipality that's doing it. It's just people gathering money. Dales Lake is the same thing. So,
Didn't you say last night, Carl, like, that a lot of the houses now, the individuals decide not to, or they don't want it, yeah. So Keller Lake might not happen because of it.
I haven't gotten any rain or
Since
any
I was
delay
having a
dates.
meeting last night after our meeting to
Okay.
decide whether or not they were.
Right, and so it's again, the fire chief that decides that and the trustees. So if there are people that want to pull that, then they can do that, and then they just have to update their permit for the day that they're gonna reschedule it for.
And our firemen in years have always done it themselves. So
Right.
They've deferred that this year, and they're having a professional company come in and do theirs.
So they are having it.
And that's what they said, as of last night. They said they had a company hired that was insured and bonded to the state fire marshal's office. They were gonna have all their fire department out there, logs over a open field, you know. Yeah, you know, and that's the thing that has been tickling me, this whole deal, is that how is the public gonna know the difference between what's going on and what's going on? And Ashland, it's pretty obvious, you know, I mean, this guy must put out $5,000 worth of barge stuff in 12 minutes, 15 minutes, it's you know, but there's all kinds of stuff going on at the same time, so, and the village president has already told me, I don't care what you do, I'm not gonna allow it. So, he's the one that's he basically signs off on his license.
Right.
And then I have to sign off on the site. But the village president, and this is an Ashland's case, he has to certify that he has his insurance. He checks it, makes sure that his insurance is valid, that his license is valid. And then I check out on the site and put my signature on it once the mayor's, president's signature on it that says that he's already examined his license, he's got it on file and his insurance, so I don't know what's gonna happen in Ashland yet.
I think most communities are responsible for what they do. It's the individuals here and there
Yeah,
that are problems.
we're gonna have problems, I know we are, you know, I mean, but if we can bring that 90% problems down to 5 or 10% problems, it's gonna help us out greatly.
And I think that's probably what this is gonna accomplish. It's
Yeah,
not
I
gonna
think
be
you're right.
100%.
Nothing's gonna be 100%.
So let's say a neighbor is doing fireworks and who do you complain to?
They're probably gonna call the 911 dispatch and they're gonna call our fire department. But, you know, I mean, unless it gets into it where these, you know, threaten my life or something like that, you know how that gets, if they get about 18 cans into it, you know, then it won't become an officer ordeal. Just say, hey, you know, we're putting it out, we can put it out with a water can. Usually, if we have to come back, we're gonna have a problem.
I can't believe in the Gilman and Narda area, they would even be considering it because they have had absolutely no rain.
Right.
I mean, it's,
I know,
I think one of the biggest concerns that I can identify with, and I think this is obviously prevalent in rural areas, I've got 72 acres of CRP land right next to my house. It's my land. If that goes up, I got a big problem. And this is the case in many areas in the county. There's a lot of CRP land in this county.
How much wheat sitting there ready to be combined?
You got all around my house. If that's all you got.
Oh, that'd be bad.
We've had 4 brush fires in the last week and a half, and 3 of them have been caused by cigarettes.
Wow.
I mean, I know what happens when those things catch on fire, because the FSA people require me to burn. And I burn a third of it almost every year.
Goes up fast, doesn't it?
Yes, it does.
Do we have a second to the motion?
Yeah,
I don't know what exactly the motion is besides I'll do that.
What is your motion?
yeah, just, the only thing I was adding is make sure they follow each other when they go on a radio ad.
But what is your, what are you
My motion is to accept this.
to?
Yeah, to approve it.
Okay.
Someone second?
That's what I was asking.
Make it pretty simple.
Second.
Yes. You can do anything you want to.
Okay.
I'm gonna have my wife proof it. Mom.
It's already going,
Good girl.
I guess we don't need to do a roll call because we're not spending any money. So, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Okay, now, that leaves us just with the other part about do we want to enact an ordinance? I don't know what the ordinance is exactly gonna say, if it's gonna, you know, like I said, I think we could enact an ordinance that will largely mirror the state's ordinance.
I think we need to look into the process of doing it, consult the
It's
state
something,
attorney.
it's something that I'll get together, if we wanna do that and bring it before the board next, on the 11th, I'll get together with Brian and we can draft one up and we'll have a discussion at the meeting, of course.
Sounds good.
Before we approve it, but.
Fire chief's okay, approved us, going forth, even though you already have a law set?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Backing each other up is always a good thing.
Yeah,
Right, but I wanna get the-
you know, I mean, the only thing I guess I would like to see in the ordinance is something in there that basically you guys are on board with giving the association the power to call the band as a group. You know what I'm saying? So it's not so much Ashton and the Danforth and the Clifton and Martin and Papanoff.
So unity.
It's as a whole.
Right.
Where I don't think we really got that by what the state law says. It says each fire protection district has that right. But it really doesn't say that we have the right as a association, which is, all I do is check with all 21 fire chiefs on what their opinion is. And I've never had anybody say, well, I don't want you to do that in Babylon. So it's always agreed on, but I just don't think legally we have.
Do you want it either or do you want it strictly that would be countywide?
It'd be countywide.
Well, I would think that it should state that the county could enact a ban in any part or all of the county. That way,
Yeah, I think it'd be better, because you could have, as big as our county is, you could have different, obviously you could have different problems, you know, as far as drought goes, from one end to the other.
and, you know, in consultation with the Fire Chiefs Association or something like that.
Eastern Illinois, you know what that is.
I think if they tell us that we need a ban, we'd be foolish not to do it, but then,
I guess the principle is if we want to do the ordinance, like I said, we can get one drafted and if we have to change a little bit of it at the meeting, fine, we can get that accomplished.
I move that we go forward on developing a fire burn ordinance.
Second.
Is that what you needed?
A ban on burning.
Fire,
Open burning.
a ban on, already.
Open burning is really hard. And if there's any help I can get, if you want to sit down and, you know, try to hammer this out, I'd love to sit with you. I'm all for it. I really do appreciate you guys' interest. You know, I know that everybody's out after the same thing here.
We appreciate you being here, no matter what I said in the beginning.
I guess some of it will depend on my schedule and Brian, but I'm sure we can, yeah, we can work something out, or we can probably do this.
See you at the 11th.
No?
Yeah.
It probably would be helpful to have something as a starting point.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, for the full board, yeah, I'll be here for that.
Might be questions.
We definitely want you to come to the board meeting.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's not a problem at all.
Okay,
Not a problem.
all right, we have a motion and a second to develop an ordinance regarding burning. Any further questions or comments? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign, that motion passes. Thank you very much for coming.
You're very welcome. And thank you guys for your interest, and thank you too for coming to our meeting last night. It's always, you come every month.
We're happy that you had us.
Oh, you're always welcome. It's never a problem. All right.
Okay, next on the agenda is going into executive session. Do we have a motion to do
I know, but I thought after you dropped it off, he's gonna love me. Ducat, Spear, Alt,
Yes.
Awful, Whitlow,
Yes.
Sure.
Yes.
I never done. Chill. Let me stop.